CTV News with Kelly Gray.
Good evening. It's been 1 month since some of Quebec's health records went digital, and the criticisms continue. There's been technical issues and doctors saying that vital patient information is being lost. Sweeta Rassi has that story.
It is not only an exception, unfortunately.
Dr. Grégoire Bernache says it happens a lot. Healthcare workers order follow-up procedures like CT scans for patients. It goes into the digital system. Then, he says, it disappears.
Which is very concerning because these are often very important exams that the patient must do outside the hospital.
The platform, known as the DSN for Dossier Santé Numérique, replaces paper files, faxes, and forms, putting all of a patient's health information online. It rolled out last month in 2 regions across Quebec. The rest of the province will eventually follow. But since its launch, doctors say there have been technical issues. Health Minister Sonia Bélanger argues a new system like this will experience problems in its early stages.
On a bien implanté ça, c'est normal qu'il y ait des ajustements.
Dr. Bernache, who is also the president of the Quebec Association of Radiologists, understands that digitalization is the path forward, having been in Ontario when that province introduced a similar system. He says there were 6 months of growing pains there. But he says there are serious red flags with Quebec's program.
It's not a learning curve problem anymore. It's a software problem that needs to be addressed.
In a statement to CTV News, the CU's North Montreal writes in part, several support strategies have been implemented and are continuously being adjusted. A second health authority covering Mauricie region says, our priority is to quickly identify issues, implement necessary corrections, and support our physicians through these changes. For his part, Dr. Bernache says he hopes the current problems will serve as a wake-up call. Sweeta Rassi, CTV News.
A new report from the city shows Montreal firefighters were called to 10,000 more emergencies in 2025 than the year before. And the very gear meant to protect them is coming with its own health risks. Laurence Brisson-Dubreuil reports.
For Montreal firefighters, the danger doesn't end when the flames are out. As calls continue to climb, so do concerns about the long-term toll of the job. Chris Ross leads the firefighters union.
It's killing us. You could take every other single fire department in Quebec, add the number of calls together, and you will get nowhere close to the number of incidents that Montreal firefighters go to.
A new report shows firefighters responded to more than 140,000 incidents last year. 6 in 10 calls now involve firefighters acting as first responders on medical emergencies. The report attributes the increase in part to an aging population, chronic illness, and a year of extreme weather events. It also highlights new measures to reduce exposure to toxic contaminants through improved cleaning of protective gear. Ross welcomes the progress, but he says the city moves too slowly.
It's been required since 2020. What changed for our firefighters only came January 27th, 2025, and it's because we complained to the CNSST that it was taking too long, and there was an intervention on the CNSST's part.
While the City of Montreal did not provide CTV News with a comment in time for this broadcast, Ross points to a heavy health toll. More than 350 work-related cancers have been recognized among Montreal firefighters over the past 15 years, and over 100 firefighters have died. Dr. Danny Wu says exposure risks follow firefighters throughout their careers.
We're faced with occupational carcinogens in all of those environments, whether routine or emergent at the firehouse or at the fire ground or at the fire lines.
Wu notes even new protective gear contains fire-retarding chemicals known to be carcinogenic. And he says modern building materials also add risks.
There is a lot of synthetic materials, and fires burn hotter, they burn faster, and they burn more toxic than ever before.
And exposure is only part of the problem. Quebec recognizes fewer occupational cancers than provinces such as BC, meaning the true toll may be even higher than official figures suggest.
We need to work on prevention, we need to work on screening, and we need to work on better recognition.
Laurence Brisson-Dubreuil, CTV News.
Quebec's Liberal Party has wrapped up a 2-day meeting in Sherbrooke where they say that 8 years of CAQ government has led to the province's decline.
And so that is why, my friends, we must stand up and fix Quebec.
Among the party's proposals for the upcoming election are rollbacks to Bill 96 so that more francophones could attend English cégeps. Leader Charles Myriard added the party would be focused on improving the economy by reducing bureaucracy that stifles investment.
An industrial policy is a clear vision of what we want to produce as a nation. It means strengthening our value chains. It means processing more of our resources here at home. It means building a stable, competitive, and predictable business environment. Quebec must once again be a place that makes, builds, and exports things and goods to the world.
Myriard was scheduled to sit down with us today for a one-on-one interview, but he canceled late this afternoon. Montreal Police and Corrections Canada are looking for a registered sex offender who's supposed to be under supervision. 66-year-old Christopher Watts had been living in a community facility near Ottawa. Under the condition, he's not in places with children unless accompanied by another adult. Police say he was recently in the Montreal area when he violated parole conditions, and they're trying to find him. Anyone with information can call 911 or InfoCrime at 514-393-1133. Provincial police nabbed a driver last week for going 142 kilometers per hour in a 70 zone. It happened on Highway 20 near Avignon. In addition, the car was passing at high speeds, driving with no headlights, and in a vehicle with only 5 spots had 8 people inside. The driver's car was seized, and he's facing more than $1,400 in fines and 14 demerit points. The Montérégie West Health Board is making it easier to identify healthcare workers who can speak English. Doctors, nurses, receptionists, and others will be wearing yellow badges that read "Je parle English." It's part of the Project Allo to make healthcare more accessible. More than 20% of people who live in the Montérégie speak English as their mother tongue or first official language. And a language complaint has led to sweeping changes in New Brunswick over access to service in French. Josh Smith has those details.
14 months ago, Mathieu Casey filed a complaint after he was unable to receive service in French at this AMBL agency store in St. Antoine, New Brunswick.
Going to gas, buy my bottle of wine, and ask for service in French. Said so nobody can speak to me in French, and the answer was we only speak English.
Casey understands not every employee can be bilingual, but it was the encounter that felt different.
It was not even, I'm sorry, I can't speak French, which we are accustomed to, but when the answer is we only speak English, it kind of closes the door.
Following an investigation, the Official Languages Commissioner determined agency stores are acting on behalf of AMBL and must meet the same language obligations.
If an institution, a government institution, hires a third party to conduct the work that the institution is required to do, then the Official Languages Act states that the third party has the same obligations as the institution.
The commissioner says AMBL will now be expected to outline how it plans to comply with the ruling. For Casey, the decision comes as a surprise.
I wasn't expecting the Commissioner of Official Languages to give me a reason. So when I opened the envelope and it said I was right 100%, I was like, oh, wow.
According to this legal expert, the decision overturns a long-standing interpretation of how the Act applies to agency stores.
Is it of historical value? Yeah, probably. Agency stores in Caracat and Shippagan and Edmundston are thinking the same thing as the agency stores in Alma, Sussex, or St. Stephen. It's the same dilemma with regard to delivery in both official languages.
In an email to CTV, AMBL says it has received the report and ruling regarding AMBL agency stores. The Crown Corporation says it takes linguistic obligations seriously and will be carefully reviewing the report. For Casey, this complaint was never about a bottle of wine. It was about ensuring New Brunswickers receive service in either official language. Josh Smith, CTV News, Shediac, New Brunswick.
Well, this next story is certainly a dinner conversation starter. A study by Concordia University shows more than 40% of those asked are open to eating insects. A psychology student interviewed 250 adults at Montreal's insectarium over a 4-month period. 18% said they had already eaten bugs, 26% said they're willing to try, and 27% said they would incorporate insects into their daily diet. The study was in Scientific Reports, which is published by Nature. Alberta's United Conservative Party is boasting about its fundraising as this fall's referendum continues to generate debate. Premier Danielle Smith spoke to a sold-out crowd last night, saying she will vote to remain in Canada.
I've always been clear that I believe in a strong and sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. That is the position, That is the position of our party, our caucus, and our government.
2,000 people were in attendance, and the party says more than $1 million was raised. Smith urged Albertans who are leaning towards separation or who are frustrated by Ottawa to consider gains that Alberta has made. Marie-Philippe Poulin has another accolade to add to her name. Today she received an honorary doctorate from Bishop's University.
I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Civil Laws honoris causa in our university, and congratulations.
The captain of the Montreal Victoire was honored for her long career, which includes 3 Olympic gold medals and now a Walter Cup. She adds an honorary doctorate of civil law from Bishop's. In her speech, she spoke to graduates about celebrating successes while embracing the hard work it takes to achieve them.
When people look at athletes, they often see the big moments, the gold medals, the championships, the overtime goals, the celebrations. But those moments are only a very small part of the story. What people do not always see are the early mornings, the difficult practices, the injuries, the losses, the setbacks, and the moments where the confidence disappears for a little while. And honestly, those moments matter just as much. One of the greatest lessons hockey has taught me is that failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of the success.
And you can find a full-length interview with Poulin on our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca. And the Montreal Victoire have lost a key piece to expansion. Rookie defender Nicole Gosling has signed a 3-year deal to go to Hamilton. The 24-year-old was a top-pairing blue liner with 3 goals and 16 assists this season. She's also a finalist for Rookie of the Year. Time now for a first look at your forecast. A gray and overcast 21 degrees right now in Montreal, and we're still under a severe thunderstorm watch. Winds could reach up to 90 kilometers per hour. Another rainy start to the day tomorrow, but we're expecting to see clearing skies in the afternoon. The forecast high 22. Monday and Tuesday looking like the winners of the week with a mix of sun and cloud. Then it's not very pretty from on in with rain and thunderstorms in the mix. Coming up, remembering the fallen. International leaders gather on the beaches of Normandy to remember the sacrifice of thousands. Plus, why it looks more likely that Canada's Air Force will involve 2 types of fighter jets. The Canadian government has yet to make a choice on its full fleet of next-generation jets, but there's growing speculation it could include 2 different aircraft. Jeremy Charon reports.
The American-made F-35 or the Swedish Gripen. At least one of these jets will shape the future of defense in the country. But CTV News has learned Canada could opt for both. Industry sources say Ottawa is considering a mixed fleet of aircraft that would include Lockheed Martin's F-35 and Saab's Gripen.
Having a split fleet, it's got its challenges, but we're talking about getting more airplanes than we've ever had before.
Sources also say it could mean a larger fleet than the government's initial goal of 88 next-generation jets.
If the government's willing to pay for it, and you're going to be able to satisfy both NORAD and NATO, this is where Canada is actually stepping up strategically.
Amid trade tensions with the U.S., the Carney government launched a review last year of Canada's plan to procure 88 F-35s, of which 16 are already under contract. The government has been quiet for months on its next move, with no timeline still for a decision.
It complicates things for a reason the government has not yet articulated.
The news of a potential mixed fleet has this military expert scratching his head, pointing to the challenges it would pose.
The hangars are different, the support requirements are different. You're going to have two different pools of trained pilots. If the government really wants to increase the size of our overall fighter fleet, the smartest way to do that would simply be to add on to the order of F-35s.
The massive military expenditure decision has always been highly political, and experts suggest it needs to be carefully crafted.
To try to square the circle of Canadian trade talks, Canadian defense policy, and our need to manage Donald Trump and all of his volatility.
The U.S. administration has been clear it expects the Canadian government to move ahead with its purchase of a full fleet of F-35s and has hinted not doing so could impact broader trade talks. Jeremy Sherrill, CTV News, Ottawa.
Today marks the 82nd anniversary of the D-Day invasion, when Allied forces stormed Normandy to liberate France and Europe from Nazi Germany. Officials from Canada, France, the UK, and other countries gathered to remember the sacrifices of that day and ensure they are not forgotten.
The world is growing more serious and more dangerous. The responsibility to safeguard their D-Day legacy rests with us. That legacy is the power of unity, the commitment of allies, the faith in democracy and freedom.
More than 150,000 Allied soldiers landed on the beaches of France that day. Over 4,000 died and another 10,000 were wounded. And a new memorial is being built in honor of those who died on D-Day. Amanda Anderson spoke with one of the few living veterans of the assault.
We fought to the death.
Marty Jones was just 19 years old when he was faced with the reality of war.
It was a rude awakening, yeah, for a young guy.
He was an anti-aircraft gunner aboard the HMCS Prince Henry as it brought landing craft filled with Canadian troops to Juno Beach on D-Day.
Saving your brothers, but you're also dumping them to their death. And that kind of stuff hurt. Never had a chance to say goodbye. Just wave to them, or because you're too busy saving your own neck.
It's been 82 years since that day. It helped change the course of the Second World War, memories that are still vivid for the now 101-year-old veteran.
We never recover from the things that are in the back of our heads that we had to face.
381 Canadians died on the beaches of Normandy June 6th. The head of the Juno Beach Centre in Normandy, France, says many people don't realize Canadians were involved.
The Canadians were known to go further and closest to their objectives for D-Day that they were meant to meet, and that was something we can be proud of.
The names of those killed on this shoreline will be honoured on a new memorial being built at the Juno Beach Centre.
It's going to change probably the emotion that you have when you're there. There's so much there already. If you've been there, you kind of come away going, you can't replicate or describe what you feel. But I think the monument will add to that.
Enbridge, an Alberta-based company, donated $150,000 for the memorial.
We have offshore wind in Normandy, so we saw this as a meaningful way to honor the Canadians who gave their lives on D-Day in 1944 and to help preserve that legacy for future generations.
It's part of a major expansion at the centre, which still needs to raise more than $6 million. A fundraising campaign Lavoisier hopes will increase programs offered here in Canada.
A lot of our focus is to ensure that we get into the communities and the schools. So, we don't want to be known for 1 or 2 days a year, June 6th and November 11th.
I want the beach to be a haven of love. I want it for the kids to run with mom and dad and their dog in the surf. That's what I want. Yeah, if I can't get that. It wasn't worth it.
The memorial should be done in 2028, a year before the 85th anniversary of D-Day. Amanda Anderson, CTV News, Edmonton.
At least 9 people were killed in Lebanon following a barrage of airstrikes from Israel. Among the dead are 3 members of the Lebanese military. Meanwhile, the United States military hit targets in Iran after Iran launched drones at other Mideast countries. Tom Sufi-Burridge reports.
The U.S. military releasing video of its strikes on Iranian radar systems at 2 sites along Iran's coast, saying it was responding to defend against further attacks after Iran launched 4 one-way attack drones in the direction of ships near to the Strait of Hormuz. Iran later firing a volley of missiles at 2 U.S. Gulf allies, Kuwait and Bahrain. Tehran accusing the U.S. of violating the fragile ceasefire. On Air Force One Friday, President Trump touting what he called the great success the U.S. is having in the war with Iran.
They're not going to have a nuclear weapon, and they're in no position to have a nuclear weapon.
Then later in the day, not for the first time seeming to indicate we could soon see an end to the war.
One way or the other is finished. It's either finished with a piece of paper or finished a more difficult way, although you could say a much easier way.
The negotiations with Iran hinging on the situation in Lebanon, where Iran is demanding a ceasefire. But that ceasefire is still elusive, with Lebanese officials saying 35 people have been killed in Israeli strikes over the past 24 hours. Israel says its offensive in Lebanon is targeting the Iranian-backed militant group Hezbollah, which says it will keep fighting while Israeli troops continue to occupy part of southern Lebanon. And as the hostilities rage on in the Middle East, the United States has denied visas to a large part of the support staff for the Iranian national soccer team, just days ahead of the World Cup, according to the Iranian embassy in Turkey. The team is scheduled to arrive at their training facility in Mexico on Sunday ahead of 3 group matches in the United States later this month. Tom Sufi-Burridge, ABC News in Jerusalem.
Ukrainian drones struck an oil depot near St. Petersburg, about 1,000 kilometers away from the front lines. It comes while President Volodymyr Zelensky is pushing for a meeting with Vladimir Putin to end the war. Zelensky said that Russia must end its war and stop its attacks on life. Putin has rejected those calls. 1 year after she was acquitted of killing her boyfriend, a Massachusetts woman says she's on a crusade to expose corruption and misogyny in police departments. Aaron Katursky has that story.
Karen Reed is speaking out about the explosive new legal battle she's mounting nearly a year after she was acquitted of murder.
This has changed my life forever, and I can't, even if I wanted to, go back to my life before January 29th, 2022.
Your mission, as you describe it, is what, to address bad cops?
It's corruption. It's corruption among law enforcement, the cops, the government, the district attorneys.
Reed has filed civil lawsuits against 2 Massachusetts police departments and 2 officers she accuses of framing her for the killing of her boyfriend, John O'Keefe. The lawsuit includes vulgar, misogynistic, racist messages ascribed to the lead investigator in her case, former state trooper Michael Proctor.
Take your time. I saw was involved, so I wouldn't rush if you're working. Let them die.
That person in their core cannot logically, objectively investigate someone. This is the kind of human being he is. He is rotten and evil in his core.
A federal investigation into the handling of Reed's case ended with no charges, but her attorneys say they discovered messages the feds never saw. How many are there?
There are thousands, I mean tens of thousands of messages.
Vile and vulgar like these?
Yes.
The Massachusetts State Police fired Proctor last year and said these racist, sexist, and abhorrent comments absolutely do not reflect the department's values. Proctor's attorney said Reed's new lawsuit is only meant to distract from her own conduct the night her boyfriend died. And there's people who think you got away with murder.
I have not met one of those people. I don't doubt that they exist.
When you're done carrying this mission, what's your future?
I'd like to just do normal things.
For now, Reed is living with her parents and working through these new lawsuits and others, including one for wrongful death by the family of John O'Keefe. Aaron Katursky, ABC News, New York.
A self-driving car is at the center of a controversy after it blocked the way for emergency vehicles. Morgan Norwood explains.
You gotta get out the way.
The dramatic new body camera video showing a Dallas deputy frantically trying to move a Waymo, which police say was blocking the road in the middle of an emergency.
There's nobody in here.
First responders on their way to that massive and deadly apartment gas explosion, which killed 3 people last week. Watch as Deputy Jonathan Banda tries to get the car to move forward.
Go forward, go.
But it doesn't budge. About a minute later, it connects to Waymo rider support.
Connected to rider support.
Yes, you need to move this car ASAP, please. There's a fire around the corner.
Banda offering to move the car himself.
If I can manually move it, I can move it.
And after 3 minutes, finally moving the Waymo and clearing the path for firefighters racing to the inferno.
The firefighters need to come in and concentrate on just doing their job and taking care of the fire. They do not need to be out there worrying about traffic or people being on the roadway.
And with reports of people still trapped inside the burning building, every second mattered.
We knew people were still stuck inside, but everything was engulfed at that point. So we knew people had lost their lives already at that point.
Officials also releasing new footage showing that blaze as first responders clear out a nearby apartment building and bringing pets to safety.
There we go.
In a statement, Waymo telling ABC News safety is fundamental to everything we do, adding the vehicle was in the process of completing a 3-point turn to leave the area. And while the officer was engaging with our vehicle and our remote assistance team, the street remained clear and other vehicles passed by unimpeded.
A Nova Scotia man is being praised for spotting a dangerous driver and staying on his tail while notifying police. Stephanie Seco has the details.
It's not the call Brian McGregor was expecting to make. Last Friday night, he was driving through Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia, when he spotted someone driving dangerously.
Then it got a little more kind of erratic, where it was like, okay, there's something wrong here, very unusual, and swerving, getting a little close to oncoming traffic, and then suddenly moving back. So I thought, okay, this is time to call 911.
McGregor stayed a safe distance and continued to follow the driver while keeping police updated.
My immediate thought is there are other people on the road. There could be pedestrians. There could be children playing. We need to get them off the road.
This went on for more than 20 minutes, with the driver going on the wrong side of the road, driving on sidewalks and lawns.
I was concerned. I was really worried.
Eventually, the driver was located by police and arrested for impaired driving. No one was injured. According to RCMP, McGregor did the right thing.
I thought the caller did an excellent job. Not only were they providing helpful information, they were calm, they were concerned for the public, they kept a safe distance, they alerted other drivers who were in that area.
Police say if you spot a suspected impaired driver, you should call 911.
Obviously, our officers can't be everywhere at all times, so we are relying on the public that when they see that there's a danger on our roadways, that they report it to us and give us as much information so we can attend.
McGregor is glad he made that call.
I happen to be a defensive driving instructor, and this is my 20th year teaching collision avoidance and avoiding this exact thing and dealing with this exact thing. So it just seems like the shoe fit.
At this point in the investigation, the 24-year-old man who was arrested has not yet been charged, though police say charges are pending. Stephanie Seco, CTV News, Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia.
After the break, the countdown is on as Canada gets set to welcome the world. And from Bishop to B-Shop, why the STM is having to explain its use of AI. Time now for our In Case You Missed It. Artificial intelligence can be helpful with everyday tasks, including translations, but it's not perfect. As Stéphane Giroux explains, the STM found that out the hard way.
Bishop Street in Montreal is believed to be named after 19th century Anglican bishop Francis Fulford, except in Montreal's 747 bus line has been rechristened B-Shop, as in a honey store, and it created a negative buzz at the STM.
So yes, we're using AI probably in many places. Probably sometimes we need to have some supervisor in there. In that case, it didn't happen.
The STM says it will rectify the sign, but it couldn't explain why its map wasn't proofread in the first place. Examples of questionable translations abound in the city. Take the street Prince of Wales in NDG. A local contractor made a huge blunder by calling it Prince of Wales.
We don't see any whales or any sea around here. You know what I'm saying? So
I don't even think it's somebody's humor. It's somebody's illiteracy.
Now, the sign might be funny, but for a lot of people, it's also a sign that we're relying way too much on artificial intelligence.
This story is a perfect example of why AI cannot be trusted to fully take over from humans anytime soon. It makes mistakes, it hallucinates, it lies, it confabulates.
An embarrassment, too, for professional translators who are being replaced by AI.
We do check, we do verify the translation. So it's even more than proofreading, because you have to check the terminology, the technical terminology. Is that the right words, the right syntax, the right grammar, everything?
Proof, she says, that humans still have the edge when it comes to common sense. Stéphane Giroux, CTV News.
FIFA is backing down on its plan to ban water bottles from soccer games. The organization said last night that it will now allow fans to bring one disposable plastic water bottle to games in the U.S. and in Canada. On Thursday, FIFA announced a new policy to ban bottles, which faced massive backlash. And the World Cup is less than a week away, and for the first time, Canada will play in the tournament on home soil. Both the team and the city of Toronto are getting ready. Mike Walker explains.
With just a week to go until the FIFA World Cup, the countdown is on and excitement is building, especially on the pitch outside City Hall.
It's going to be a little excitement for the city.
The tournament kicks off at Toronto Stadium on Friday with Canada's first ever World Cup match on home soil. Joanne will be attending.
It was a lot of money, but it was the chance of a lifetime.
Others like Ricardo will be cheering on from the Fan Fest at Fort York. He's going twice next week.
I think the culture and the unification of the people. Everyone is supposed to come and enjoy this beautiful atmosphere. It is the atmosphere.
More than 300,000 people are expected to visit Toronto throughout the tournament. Alan arrived from England a couple of days ago. He's been to the World Cup before in the 90s and says the experience is magical.
Brings all the nations together, and it's just a whole different vibe to any other time.
Years of planning set to be tested next week.
Our plan addresses the downtown, what we call the last mile.
Today, city officials outlining their plans to handle the influx of visitors. That includes thousands of police officers deployed from forces across the GTA, as well as the OPP and RCMP.
This is the longest operational period with the largest deployment of members in the Toronto Police Service's history.
The city implementing a transit-first plan, as there will be no public parking at Toronto Stadium and FanFest, with designated drop-off locations for ride shares.
We are boosting service across all modes. That includes more frequent streetcar service on key routes.
Plus extensive road closures and restrictions surrounding the venue and nearby neighborhoods.
On match days, some neighborhoods, like Liberty Village and Fort York, will be limited to local access only.
The TTC has vowed there will be no subway shutdowns during the tournament, but there will be a line closure this Sunday between Shepherd West and St. George stations for track work to eliminate 4 reduced speed zones, just in time for the World Cup that runs from June 11th to July 19th. Mike Walker, CTV News, Toronto.
In their last warm-up before their World Cup debut on Thursday, Canada took on Ireland last night in a friendly at Saputo Stadium, and Canada got on the board first.
This time swept in towards the 6-yard box. It's gone in! Canada with the early advantage from the set piece.
Stephen Estacou's corner bounced off an Irish defender and gave Canada the lead early. But in the second half, Ireland took advantage of a penalty kick off an infraction. Greenfield Park's Maxime Crépeau made the initial save on the penalty kick, but the rebound was booted in. The final score in this one was 1-1. Coming up, using robots to get a look into the depths of the Great Lakes and what lives below the surface. 2 Canadian filmmakers are plunging to new depths to get a better understanding of the Great Lakes, and they invited CTV News to see what's hidden below the surface. Adrian Gabriel has more.
Off the picturesque shore of Michigan's Upper Peninsula sits the largest of the Great Lakes. Lake Superior's surface spans more than 82,000 square kilometers. CTV News has been invited to plunge to historic depths with 2 Canadian cinematographers documenting the world beneath this expansive blue canvas.
That has been visited only once before in 1985, 1986.
As the shoreline disappears, the journey on the horizon comes into focus.
We're currently heading 50 kilometers offshore towards the deepest point in the entire Great Lakes system. Our destination is an underwater mountain called Big Reef.
Traveling with us is this state-of-the-art underwater drone. This is the only camera of its kind capturing marine life in the Great Lakes.
So it can move in any direction, just like a fish. So when we see a fish, we can kind of get in close to it and become part of the school.
All right, let's do it. Our initial descent into the deep doesn't disappoint.
We got something interesting down here.
It's our first glimpse of a native Siskiwet lake trout. Superior is the only Great Lake where they're still found.
The Great Lakes are our Serengeti, and the lake trout are the top predators in those lakes. And the Siskiwet have evolved and held on for thousands of years.
The underwater giants use their large eyes to navigate the dark, deep blue waters. There's also redfin trout who use the current created by underwater mountains to soar through the depths. As the camera is pulled out of the frigid water, we move on to our next destination.
We've arrived at the deepest point of Lake Superior for what will be the furthest an underwater drone has ever traveled into the Great Lakes.
We're about to do the deepest dive we've ever done. You're well past 300 now, 308 meters.
The drone reaches 364 meters, uncovering the rarely seen deep water sculpin. The deep dive also showcases boulders below that share a resemblance to the famous pictured rocks that soar high above the water nearby.
It feels amazing to be down here, really to have the privilege to be able to do this.
The crew are just beginning a 2-year journey into the abyss for their upcoming documentary titled Hidden Below the Great Lakes.
There's nothing more magical than getting to see what's under the waves out here.
A picture-perfect perspective bridging humanity's understanding of a freshwater ecosystem seldom witnessed before. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Munising, Michigan.
And there's concern about another thing lurking below the water. It can be a problem for lakes across the country. Now, a Winnipeg student is trying to find a new way to reduce algae blooms. Alex Karpa reports.
So I'm just pipetting here.
21-year-old student Elisa Tabarara is researching ways to reduce phosphorus in Lake Winnipeg.
Excessive amounts of phosphorus and nitrogen can lead to algae blooms.
Those blooms are becoming increasingly common across the lake.
Algae blooms have also been seen to cause fish kills, and also importantly, it's reducing the water quality, which a lot of northern communities in the northern area rely upon.
Agricultural activities like livestock production are a major source of phosphorus entering Lake Winnipeg. Tabarara's research examines drainage ditches and how much phosphorus can be removed before it reaches the lake. Excess phosphorus levels have impacted Lake Winnipeg's water quality for the last few decades, and some worry that further damage to the already fragile ecosystem could impact the region's economy.
It's a place to enjoy and relax and to create an economy. And we want to see that for generations to come.
Belanger says protecting Lake Winnipeg starts with managing the land around it and welcomes research aimed at improving water quality.
What we do on the land really affects the water quality in our streams, in our lakes, and our rivers.
Tabarara's proposal has earned her several scholarships and awards that will support her research. She says the goal is simple.
We all love Lake Winnipeg. We all like to be outside, and I think that finding ways to mitigate the phosphorus loading, the nutrient loading into Lake Winnipeg is really important.
Hoping to help keep Lake Winnipeg healthy for generations to come. Alex Karpa, CTV News, Winnipeg.
After the break, a little-known art museum with some of the great masters in Griffintown. A Griffintown art museum pays homage to some of the masters, all while promoting new talent. Lauren Fernandez has the story of how one man's passion is bringing it all together.
These are all European and American paintings that I've been collecting art for over 40 years.
Alan Diamond lives and breathes art.
I was 10 years old, I did this painting.
A painter himself, his passion is clear when he shows us around the Montreal Art Centre and Museum that he founded in 2010.
We became a not-for-profit organization in 2017, and then in 2020-21 we became a museum.
At a glance, you wouldn't know what's inside this Griffintown historic patrimonial building dating back to 1875.
We've been, called the best-kept secret.
Everywhere you look, there are pieces from around the world, including works from some of the greats.
Pablo Picasso here, Pierre-Auguste Renoir, Paul, Cézanne.
But their main mission?
We want to help artists, visual, performing, and film artists, because it's not an easy life.
One of those artists is Olivier Bonnet.
People see my work and think and feel that it has a vintage feel to it.
Close to 50 artists use the nonprofit studio space. They also get a chance to show their work in the gallery.
It's inspired from a 1920s photo, and I engraved it on linoleum. It's quite a laborious process.
Which helped Olivier land another opportunity.
An art critic came at the day after the vernissage and found my work really interesting, so he's offered me to do a solo exhibition at the Centrafrica during the Jazz Festival.
He says in a world with so much content available online, nothing can replace experiencing art in person.
People are bombarded with advertising, images on social media, lots of video clips, etc. So this provides them a quieter, more poetic moment of reflection.
And he's grateful to Alan for supporting emerging talent.
I consider him to be a modern patron of the arts.
The most important thing for our artists is the visibility.
Showing the next generation that reaching their potential isn't abstract. Lauren Fernandez, CTV News.
A group of railroad tycoons gathered today. Well, at least miniature railroads, at the Montreal Model Train Expo. More than 40 vendors showing off their wares at the Dorval Arena. This year, some of the newest technical innovations are the tiniest, meaning people can build more elaborate sets in smaller spaces. Some of the model trains have onboard computers, while other builders prefer to keep it simple.
When you're actually working on a model railway, you sort of zone out and you get away from the real world, and you sort of more, time doesn't really count all of a sudden. It's like a form of yoga, meditation, when you're really working on a model railway itself. And you also get to be very artistic, because you get to build things. It's like a God thing. You get to build your own world, is basically what it comes down to.
The show continues on Sunday, with the proceeds benefiting the Sun Youth organization. It's a remarkable milestone for a couple in Ontario. They're both in their 90s and are celebrating their wedding anniversary. Lindia Chubak reports.
Raymond and Teresa Taylor arrived at their 80th wedding anniversary party in their 1948 Plymouth. The couple was then piped into the hall and were greeted by family and friends.
At first, my dad said, well, at 98 and 99, all our friends are gone. I said, oh, you've got lots of people who love you and care for you. There'll be lots of people to come. So he said, okay, let's do another party.
The Taylors were married on June 5th, 1946 in Timmins.
I don't know if it's like any other marriage, except it's longer. That's about all I can say. It's been a good marriage. We have 7 kids. And I think it's 22 grandchildren, so it's been quite productive.
He was a good man, a good father, and a real good husband, good man. Get bad at him sometimes, but I'm the boss and he's the boss. There's 2 bosses.
Congratulatory certificates also arrived in time from numerous politicians, including letters from Pope Leo XIV and King Charles III.
That's pretty cool.
A clean, simple life filled with love and faith is what we always get and what we feel from them as well all the time.
I just love the way they respect other people, and people should respect them because they've been, they lead by example, and they're just wonderful, wonderful, genuine people.
Raymond worked 44 years driving a truck for Brewers Warehousing, and Teresa started off as a telephone operator and also sold Tupperware. They continue to live in their own home, which they built, and where they raised their family. All but one of their children still live in Timmins. Lydia Chubak, CTV News, Timmins.
80 years. Now for a final look at the forecast. Montreal under a severe thunderstorm watch. Environment Canada saying winds could reach 90 kilometers per hour, 21 degrees out right now. We're expecting more wet weather tomorrow, but we could see some peaks of the sun later in the afternoon, the high 22. It doesn't get much better from there. Monday and Tuesday looking like the winners. Then it's rain, and some more rain. And we could see some hotter temperatures with humidity by the end of the week. That is it for us. For all the latest news, you can go to our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great evening and take care of each other.